here.
Are we here? All right.
Yep.
Okay. All right. We're looking over equipment. Anyway.
Look at you, Mark. You're so bright.
I know,
you
right?
might as well wear shades.
You might as well pull a curtain. Anyway. So,
Yeah. We're here.
What's up, guys? It's been a while since we've done this.
Yeah.
About a year, I think.
And we act like it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the reason we are here is to talk about waking up from the nightmare that is autism. And some of you folks may disagree with that. That's fine. You can disagree. Okay? Some of you, though, and in fact most of you, will probably find this very interesting. Because most people who are being healed from autism are children, not adults. And the adults that have done so to varying degrees. I know one adult who we recently saw him and we were like, wow, he looks a lot better than he used to.
Yeah.
And we interviewed him on here a year and a half ago, maybe a little longer. Actually, it's been much longer than that. It's probably more like 3 years ago. But anyway,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Well, when we stopped it. Yeah, it was something like that.
Wow.
And so we're probably just going to have him back on here because do adults heal from autism? Absolutely. Because people, there's a lot of folks who are like, well, autism can't be healed. Really? You can't give me any solid evidence for that. Why? Because if you clean out the human body, if you detox it from heavy metals, you heal it from things like viruses and bacteria. For instance, if you heal SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, for those of you who don't know what it is, heal it from viral issues, and then inflammation, God knows what all else. Heal the gut, there you go, because that's where I started.
Mm-hmm.
Started with the gut. We started the GAPS diet back in July of 2013. In fact, it's been 9 years since
almost
we did that.
Exactly. What is today? The 13th?
Yeah, it was about either the 8th or 9th of July of 2013 that we started. And so the GAPS diet was great for about a year and a half, but as I was telling a friend of mine who is on her own healing journey that I work with, she goes, I know where you're going with this. I told her after a year and a half, I just got inflamed and felt bad, and it was like I was back at square one. She goes, yeah. She goes, my brother-in-law, he did the same thing, and he had to quit. He had to go on vegan just to lose the weight and feel better again. And I was like, yep. So the GAPS diet did great, though, because it started healing my brain and some of my communication, but mainly it was my gut. And so then I was able to communicate with Michelle better, a little bit better, understand her a little bit better. And see, that's Michelle, because some of you might be new. That's Michelle. I'm Mark, because we didn't introduce ourselves.
We didn't do anything.
And,
well, there's nobody here anyway.
Right.
Of course, the podcasters are going to be like, what are they? They're so disorganized.
Who cares? We're disorganized, but what it is we're having fun.
Yeah.
And
hey, our house felt like a party today. Earlier today.
Earlier today.
Earlier today.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Michelle works as a medium, and I work as a wise ass. And so between the two of us, we help heal the world. And yes, we do. Just watch us nod, okay? And for those of you who are listening to us, we're nodding and smiling, okay? And but we have gotten to the point to where living with each other is actually fun, because we'll quote programs that we watch together to each other, and we play around with the cats. Michelle dragged the cats in a box throughout the house 2 or 3 times today.
Yeah.
And
I have an Instagram for the cats if you want to go to Mostly Ginger Squared.
That's on Instagram.
That's Instagram.
Right? And that's Fry and Lori. They're cute little guys. But since we're here to talk about, well, I don't know, let's talk about the cat's autism.
We have a viewer!
Hey! Hi, viewer! And but as far as the autism goes, the GAPS diet's where we started. It did us good for a while. We happened upon, after floundering for a couple more years, we happened upon another diet called the medical medium diet. which was raw vegan, and we quit cold turkey off the meat and the fat and the dairy and all that, and went cold turkey to raw vegan. And for 35 days, we did a heavy metal detox smoothie, which consists of organic wild blueberries, dulse, barley grass juice powder, cilantro. Yes, cilantro. And I'll tell you something about cilantro here in a minute. And then there was something else.
Did you say blueberries?
I said blueberries, dulse, barley grass juice powder, and cilantro.
It's on our page.
Anyway, we do have videos right here on Heal Your Autism that show you how to make the smoothie. But 35 days straight of that smoothie and no fat, and it changed my brain exponentially even more than the GAPS diet did. My communication got much better. What I was trying to say, I was actually saying for the first time in my life.
Hey, somebody left a comment and I can't see it.
Oh, it says, I find your story very interesting, she says. Did you write a book or just doing these podcasts? Okay, Susan, we actually have written a few books. One of them is a freebie. It's called Buried Alive, One Man's Journey Out of Autism.
Nothing's free anymore.
Oh, it's not free anymore? Okay, see, we don't communicate enough.
Well, so much has happened.
Well, go.
Well, what I really wanted to ask you was, what are the top 3 things that you couldn't believe you woke up into?
Number 1. Let's not drama in that.
Yeah.
Number 1. I spent my life listening to other people. When I was autistic, I thought other people knew better than me. And you know what? In a lot of cases, they did. But most people are not well-meaning, nor are they well-intentioned. They're just reacting to you. So any of you folks on here who are listening who have autism, that is going to be something that you need to stop and think about. Because a lot of people who are telling you, oh, you're being this way, you're being that way, they're just being reactive jerks. Yeah, I think most of you think that way about NTs anyway. But the truth is, there are some NTs who are well-intentioned and do like you and do want to help. But most NTs just are pretty much just reactive people. But that's how the world is, which leads me to number 2. Okay? I woke up to a world where most people were really more incompetent than I was. Hey, man.
There must be a cat behind here.
Hey, knock that off. Yes, I do. And,
for the podcasters,
yes,
we just lost our behind screen.
Yeah, our behind screen. The screen that covers our butts. Hey, Fred, knock it off, man. And Friday's one of our kitties. He's behind the screen here. You can't quite see him.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. He's trying to now, and it's not working. And but the second one was realizing that most people aren't as well put together as I've worked my butt off trying to be myself.
Explain how that was for you as an autistic person.
What?
How hard you had to work.
Oh, I had to work doubly hard. And I know there are people out there, well, you're privileged as a white man, or this. I don't care about that. Because we all have incredibly different lives. And just because of one person's ethnicity or gender or whatever else does not privilege make necessarily, all right? So just stop with that. So I had to work doubly hard. See, precarious, yeah. And our equipment setup is a little bit precarious, and the cat is testing its durability.
Well, that was well said.
Wasn't it? And it would have taken me 20 minutes to say that when I was autistic.
Yeah.
But anyway, but those of you who decide to go on the healing journey, and oh my God, it's a journey, you'll find that you're going to wake up to a world that you were blind to. Right?
That's what I want to talk about. Yeah.
Mind blindness is a real thing. And interestingly enough, NTs have it too. You know how I know? Because I deal with it every day. Why? Because I'll hear them say, oh, well, in fact, I had my boss tell me recently, well, I grew up in the South, and I have a father-in-law who's from the South, And I said, where'd you grow up? Texas. Oh, okay. And my father-in-law, he's from Alabama. I'm like, okay, all right. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're really not going to tell me that my experience growing up, and I'm 20 years older than you, should have been exactly the same as yours. Well, that's exactly what he was telling me. So NTs have mind blindness too. Of course, I say NTs. I don't really know what this particular...
Well, I think part of it is that everyone has metals.
Yes. Everyone, whether you realize it or not, you have been exposed to heavy metals in your life. It's in your food, it's in your environment. Your brain has soaked them up. Your nervous system has soaked them up to an extent. And because of that,
we're having technical difficulties with the cat.
That's feline difficulties, not technical difficulties.
This is the kitty.
Yeah.
Can you turn that light on?
Okay, now it's too dark.
Okay, maybe we've got this going now.
Maybe.
We got 2 viewers and they're like, what did we walk into? Okay.
All right, so anyway, what were you were, as a question you were asking me, or you were getting ready to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And so that's exactly what he was doing. But metals, we've all been exposed to them. It just depends on where those metals are in our central nervous systems that depend on whether we appear autistic or whether we appear ADD or whether we appear ADHD.
Or depression.
Or Alzheimer's or anxiety. She did that heavy metal detox smoothie with me for that first 35 days of the medical medium diet. And it was amazing for her because she lost almost all of her anxiety, if not all of it.
And I didn't have autism.
No.
So I'm saying everyone probably needs to get metals out.
Yes. She has been a working musician for our marriage, and we've been married almost 28 years. Next week will be 28 years. And when she did the heavy metal detox smoothie, she was able to do things musically that she was never able to do before that. And that's been absolutely fascinating for her because she's like, I can do this now. I could never do this before. And so what our message is, you can heal from anything.
Yeah.
And if somebody says autism is unhealable, you can walk away confidently knowing that that is not true. Because even medical mediums said that heavy metals, if they're in the brain and they've been there longer than 18 years, it's impossible to remove them. That is completely untrue. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying that is completely untrue. Because I was in my early 50s when I started
40s.
That late 40s.
Yeah.
Well, the heavy metal detox movie, that was 4 years ago now, 4.5 years ago. So, well, that'd make me 49. 48.
Okay, let's be technical.
So late 40s. Well, why not?
I didn't know you were that old. When did that happen?
Yeah, right? Snuck up on you. And, but think about that. I was 48 when I started the heavy metal detox smoothie, and it worked for me, and it worked great. We did the heavy metal detox smoothie numerous times after that, and healed even more each time. Mainly, it was killing off strep bacteria. The heavy metal detox smoothie takes care of more than just metals. Let me tell you about the cilantro real quick. I went to school for anthropology, then I went to school for biology. I was almost able to complete the full biology degree, but the autism in this case wouldn't allow me to assimilate the information fast enough to pass the classes. So, those of you who are having trouble in school, yeah, it's not the way the teachers are teaching, it's your autism. Okay? Period. It just is. After getting through as much biology as I could, I just went ahead and graduated with the anthropology degree. But then doing the biology coursework taught me to read scientific articles. All right, so I decided, well, you know what? Medical Medium talks about cilantro. I wonder why. All right. Well, I didn't look up Medical Medium and cilantro. What I did is I looked up cilantro in PubMed Central and PubMed. All right. Thousands of articles on how cilantro detoxes heavy metals from the central nervous system. An article as old as 1995 talking about cilantro being a detoxifier for heavy metals for people who work in heavy metal mines, such as gold, silver, lead mines, that kind of stuff. And they use cilantro to detox the heavy metals from those miners. So that was an absolutely fascinating thing to find out, because there are other heavy metal detoxification protocols, and this one is the easiest by far. By far. Because you just drink
something that tastes good.
That tastes good. It reminds me of bubble gum from the 80s, for those of us who are old enough to remember that.
That's a good point.
It does remind me of that. And the blueberries have so many antioxidants in it that they help with oxidative stress. And oxidative stress has been shown to be a huge factor in autism.
But what you have to be careful with the cilantro. It's really
highly
detoxified.
Yeah, and see, I forgot about that. That's a good point.
So, maybe one leaf.
Well, for folks who are really sensitive like you.
Yeah. So you have to be really careful with the cilantro.
Because I was detoxing at a rate that made me crazy for a while.
Yeah.
And
because there was no rest.
Yeah.
Body couldn't rest.
Mm-hmm. And you do have to rest from detoxification. In fact, a friend of mine at work who's on her own healing journey, she and I were talking about that, and I was just talking about how, like, Michelle likes to use the word, if you detox too much, it's like running your fingers down a chalkboard after a while.
Inside your body.
Yeah, on the inside, because everything's getting squeaky clean.
Yeah.
And, that squeaky clean is a good feeling until you feel it for too long. Then it's just like,
But let's talk about, because this just came to mind.
Yeah.
You got all those metals out, and your emotions definitely came on, but you still had issues, and we couldn't figure out what it was. And we finally figured out it was strep and a biofilm.
Yeah. Okay. Biofilms, very important. PANS, pandas. Everybody wants to argue about what causes PANS, pandas. I think it's PANS that is caused by strep bacteria. Pandas might be caused by another bacteria. Okay.
Or they're all viral. It could be probably any of it.
Okay, I'm going to boil it all down to this. One word, biofilm. Look it up. Okay? Biofilm, what it is a collection of bacteria, probably viruses, probably archaeans. What are archaeans, you ask? They're another type of single-celled organism, very much like bacteria. They used to be classified as bacteria. Thing is, archaeans live in extreme environments. And of course, there are bacteria that do too. So what this is, this collection of, and I remember learning about this in applied microbiology long before I suspected I had a biofilm. Truthfully, long before I knew that humans can have biofilms that affect their behaviors. All right, now this is important to note. Biofilms for some people, all right, he's settling in, the cat. Biofilms do affect the behavior of some people, okay? Probably more people than we realize.
Yes.
Right? But they do affect the behavior of some people with autism. Now, definitely did me. There was a time when I would just be angry and paranoid. You couldn't talk to me, nothing, when I was autistic. It was very difficult to interact with me. It was dangerous for your emotions to interact with me, Michelle. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Okay. So that explosive behavior, violent behavior in some cases.
Yeah.
There were some. We've come across a lot of families with kids who are violent. It's because of this biofilm. You break that biofilm and you stop feeding them beans, legumes of any kind, breads, pastas, grains of any kind, and you will break that biofilm. When you break that biofilm, their behavior will change, because mine has every time. Finally, this past couple weeks, I've been eating no grains, no beans, peas, nothing, none of that. And I have felt great. And I have been happy as a, well, I don't know, church mouse is poor, but
As
I
a
can say
lark?
happy. There we go. But I don't know how happy a lark is. So I mean,
Larks are very happy. They
are
tweet.
she personally knows some.
I do.
Next door neighbors. And but believe me, people will always tell me, why don't you just be happy? I'm like, well, you know what? If you know what the secret that is, tell me. If you don't, just be
Can I
quiet.
speak to this?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing about a biofilm is it actually takes over your nervous system, your body, your desires, your...
Yeah, it causes cravings that you can't control.
So you're living your life through... Sorry, this kitty here is...
Mister, you're going to have to knock it off, okay? Here you go.
He is going to knock it off.
Well, yeah, literally. Dude. Okay.
So you literally are living your life. Actually, you're not living your life at all.
No,
Pathogens are living your life.
They are controlling your brain. And that is 100% true. I know, that doesn't happen. Yes, it does. Right? When you tell me it doesn't happen to you, yes, it does. Because in fact, I was telling Cassie this. Sorry, I forgot. Probably
No
shouldn't mention
names.
names. That's right. But anyway, I was telling my friend at work this. And I said, biofilm, and the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, that's the biofilm.
Yeah.
And the bacterial overgrowth, it says bacterial, but it's got to be more than that. And so a collection of viruses, bacteria, archaeans, yeast, which are fungi.
Right.
Or fungus, if you want to, be singular about
Fungus
it.
among us.
Fungus, right? And so they form a collection that communicates with each other, and they all produce metabolic byproducts. In other words, their metabolisms produce waste products that
Poop.
affect, bacterial poop, right? And that, is it Natalia? Hey, Natalia! And all of these byproducts produced by the viruses, the bacteria, the archaeans, the yeast, the other funguses, the candida. Candida is one of the main ones. All the byproducts affect your brain, and they affect your behavior. They affect your mood. They affect your outlook on life. I'm a very positive human being.
And I wouldn't have known that.
Well, I won't say a very positive human being, but I have a very much more positive outlook on life when the biofilm is not controlling my
Oh my
situation.
goodness, it's night and day. It's Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, in fact, I said that recently.
Yeah.
Jekyll and Hyde. And so it's important that you break these biofilms through raw garlic is one of the best things. But then we found, was it last year, that Mucinex and Claritin. If you take a little bit more in combination
Take
with
it what's written on the package.
What's written on the package with the raw garlic, you will break that biofilm eventually, and you will see a behavioral change. It'll probably be gradual, but as you get on, it'll be a much bigger behavioral change over time, and you will be amazed at.
Right, because we've seen people say, "Hey, we've been doing this heavy metal detox smoothie, and it's really not doing anything."
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's because there's a biofilm.
Mm-hmm. And a biofilm gets in the way. So breaking the biofilm, or a biofilm, especially if you're a loved one on the spectrum, or even you for that matter.
But even regular people, I'm going to say regular.
Yeah.
Because no one's regular.
Well, that's the thing. We lump everybody into regular who isn't autistic, so to speak, or who doesn't have a disability, thinking, oh, well, they must be normal.
No one is normal.
No.
So I'm saying everyone has this biofilm. I mean, that's just where we are at this point on the planet.
But if you want to cop out and say there's no such thing as a normal brain, you can go ahead and do that. But there really is such a thing as a happy, healthily functioning brain.
But it takes a lot to get there.
It does take a lot to get there. We've been doing this for 9 years, right?
10.
Almost 10.
I've been doing it for 10.
Well, you haven't been doing the diets for 10.
No.
I'm thinking about 2013. What are you thinking about?
Well, I'm thinking about 2012.
Well, but think about.
Well,
It's been 14 years for you this month since 2008. That's when you started deciding, I'm tired of all the pain and all the locked shoulder and all the locked
that's when
jaw.
I started trying energy medicine and stuff, because I was just like, oh, nothing's working here. And it was enough of a difference for me that I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
And look where I am now.
Yeah.
I can do squats.
She can. And she can lift things in weights that she never could before.
Oh my goodness, I put a 35-pound container of cat food into a buggy without thinking about it.
Cat litter.
Yeah, what did I say?
Oh, you said cat food. I'm like, I guess it could.
I'm so glad you're here.
I know, right? To make it completely accurate. Yeah. So, but the report that you see us have now has taken a long time to get to.
Right, but I don't think it'll take that long now. I don't think it'll take 10 years for people to feel better.
No, probably not. And
because this information wasn't available then.
Well, exactly. And again, we floundered for 2 or 3 more years after the GAPS diet until we came across the medical medium diet. And I
got
floundered.
Worse on the GAPS.
She did.
So.
And so I say floundered. We were just waiting until we were ready for the next step. Right. And so medical medium really did help us. As far as the emotions coming on, see, I can now share other people's emotional experiences. Before, I could not. I had undiagnosed alexithymia. That is a condition, for those of you who don't know, where you're not able to recognize your own emotions, or even feel them, for that matter.
And it's interesting how many people actually have that and don't know it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's a spectrum as well. So I probably had some, but it was like 20% instead of 100 or something.
Right. And I work with a lot of people who have that themselves, although it's undiagnosed for them, and they would never suspect they have it, and they think they're perfectly normal. I'm like, okay. So, but that's just where they're at in their journey. So I'm not going to point fingers at them and say, damn it, you need to fix that. It's not my place, not my business. So, but anyway.
Did you finish the 3 things I asked you what you woke up into?
What was I saying? The first thing, number 1 and number 2. Number 1 was realizing that people were just reacting to me when I was autistic. For the most part, that is just the case. The vast majority of people that you come into contact with when you're autistic are reacting to you because they feel uncomfortable with the way you're either doing things or the way you're acting. And you know what? Truthfully, your autism is not your fault, right? So it's not your business to please these other people and to conform to their reactions because they don't like how you're being. That's their problem, not yours. But that is how we get traumatized and how people with autism wind up with PTSD. It's because he gets shouted at and screamed at and hit. Abused is really what the term is. Now, I'm not going to say that you need to play a victim card because the truth is all of the effect of that abuse, you're responsible for clearing up, not them. Because they're responsible for clearing up their own abuse, what they got. And that's the thing. So that was the first thing, realizing that people are just reacting to you, and they're usually reacting to you negatively, and they're being nasty. The second one is, and you heard me talk about this a little bit, waking up into a world where I'm as competent, pretty much, or more competent than most people that I work with. And I worked doubly hard most of the time when I was autistic to prove that I was just as good as others.
Right.
Because I was trying to prove myself. And I know you say, well, you don't have to prove yourself. Yeah, I get it, but that's not the way the world works, okay?
That's not the way Mark's world works.
And it didn't. And so I spent a long time trying to please people, still working on that. For the most part, I don't please people. I'm just not. It's not what I do.
It's not in his nature.
No. It's in my nature to do what I need to do in my life, right? And heal me. Other people have to heal themselves. But that was the second thing. The third thing was, and this was a big thing, right? Stop identifying with autism as if it is who you actually are and it makes you up, right? Because then you will never see the world the way that it is, right? You think the world is your problem. It is. Regardless of what I just said about people reacting to you, the autism is causing a significant amount of issues for you. And I've run into a lot of autistic adults who say, do not talk bad about autism. I'm like, whatever, deny it, and you can deny all you want. But until you realize that your autism is causing you a problem, I mean, here's the thing. If you don't think your autism is causing you a problem, fine, right? If your life has been so easy that you haven't encountered problems, then wow, I'm amazed, right? Because even NTs don't have lives where they don't have problems. Right? So if you're telling me your life has been that easy, oh my God, tell me the secret. Oh, enlightened one, okay? Because it just doesn't happen, right? So if you're blaming your problems on somebody else, okay, sure, that's what most of the rest of the world does anyway. But then that's why the rest of the world doesn't change.
But also, if you identify as autistic, you can't change it.
Right. And that doesn't mean changing the wording in a sentence. Oh, a loved one with autism, or a person with autism, or I'm autistic. No. What she's talking about is, no, I am an autistic person, and autism is who I am. No. If your identity is so bound up in an illness, in a disorder, that you choose to not see it for what it is and what it's doing to you, then that's where your problem lies. It just does. All right? And I, at one point, identified the exact same way. Why? She knew, right? Because she heard me, oh, I'm autistic. I'm an autistic person. I'm proud of that. Okay, great.
Well, it's something to do when you don't know that you can get rid of it.
Right.
And so there's nothing wrong with it, but always keep like a little window open. Like, well, maybe this can go away and I can have a normal...
Right. In other words, don't have a
normal relationships is what I'm saying, because normal life, there isn't such a thing. But
there are healthy relationships.
There are healthy relationships that can be had and can be joyful. If you would just speak to that, the difference between our relationship from autism to here, just to show that you can have something really different.
Easy. And I think a lot of you out there with autistic loved ones will totally understand this. All right? I always came to her to fix my problems. Didn't know how to do it myself. And they were all social problems. I don't understand why this guy's picking on me. I don't understand, I still sometimes come to her with things because...
Very rarely.
Very rarely. But here's the thing. When you grow up with autism, you grow up with what are called developmental gaps. And that means that your brain was in such a poor state of health when you were growing up that you didn't go through a normal development like most kids. I didn't say all kids. I said most kids, right? And again, I also understand that most kids don't go through normal development. A large part of them have fairly normal developmental stages, but there's a certain amount who do not, right? And if you're autistic, you don't, right? Here I am at 53, and sometimes I have to tell my bosses this. Here I am at 53, learning things that I should have learned when I was 10 or younger. You think that's not frustrating? I was pissed off about that yesterday. And I told her, I said, I'm mad that I still have gaps in my social understanding and abilities that, had I grown up without autism, I probably would not have had. So, that's the thing. I get it that autism, you consider autism neurodiversity. But you know what? I only hear autistic people talking about neurodiversity. I really do. I heard a couple of them at work talking about that. I'm like, guys, unless you're including every other person in the world in your grouping of neurodiversity, you're not neurodiverse. You're just not. And that irritated them, but I do not care. I'm past the point of caring about that crap. Because all that is a very self-centered, and that's what the word autism means, morbid self-centeredness. It's a morbidly self-centered way of looking at the world. And, there are NTs out there who are trying to help those on the spectrum. But the vast majority of NTs don't even know that there is an autistic spectrum. Of course, they don't even realize that there's a spectrum that they live on.
Right.
Because
there's not inward thinking.
There's really not. And introspection,
Yeah.
Well, in the 1840s, was it Henry David Thoreau or somebody, talked about Americans were very active on the iron couch of introspection. And it's interesting that he used the term iron couch. But anyway, we apparently do a lot more of it than the rest of the world. I don't know. That seemed to be what he was saying. So anyway, did that speak to the first?
Oh man, that was fantastic.
Good.
I think you may have started your career as a motivational speaker.
You think so? Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that works out.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we don't see any other questions, and I think we're finished for this episode.
Yeah.
Maybe
we're fine. Because there's always more to be said. I can talk all day. I can talk till Jesus comes back. But anyway, all right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Talk to you next time.
All right.